All right, all the technical stuff is lined up. All the ducks are lined up. And welcome everyone to Accuracy in America. I'm Don Irvine. I'm joined by Brian McNicoll.
Good morning. Hello, deplorables, dregs, despicables, dog faces, and dog face Tony Soldiers.
Yeah, I don't know. This list could continue to grow. All right, so we're a few.
Bad, you know.
Yeah. All right, so we're a few days past the whole July 4th and everything. Hope you had a good weekend.
Absolutely.
I don't, there were limited amount of fireworks. I guess there are fireworks on the mall, but most local fireworks were canceled. I don't know how they went in Virginia.
They had like Mount Vernon, I think, had something, and then for the most part, it was just we just watched it on TV. So it's a very different Fourth.
Yeah.
No baseball, no. The Astros, my beloved Astros, were supposed to be here.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You mentioned that thing last week. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, things are upside down.
I was all fired up to go to that 11 o'clock game, and then head off into doing some cooking and fireworks and enjoy the day. And that's not. We ended up, there were fireworks in our neighborhood, and there were fireworks. So a lot of fireworks in the neighborhood. I don't know if you saw what happened in California. Gavin Newsom banned fireworks, and like Los Angeles was set ablaze. There were millions of fireworks.
That's right. I did see a story about that. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I know, I'm on this Nextdoor app or whatever they want to call it. So it's wide variance of the neighborhoods around here, and they can cobble together. You can select out neighborhoods that you don't want to communicate with or whatever, but generally you just talk to everybody. And there are a lot of people complaining about the fireworks in Montgomery County, which they're illegal in, people setting them off at 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever. But some other people are like, look, we don't have fireworks of any kind, so I'll take fireworks wherever I can get them,
Right.
And I think that's it. As long as nobody gets hurt, right. Doing it, then that.
And now they make fireworks. The way they make the fireworks that they sell to the public, not the ones they use for shows, but the ones that you and me could buy, they're a lot less dangerous. There's a lot fewer people getting hurt over that now. I was in Myrtle Beach. There was a sign, fireworks are not allowed this year in Myrtle Beach. And then I crossed into the city, and there were 3 huge fireworks stands, bustling business. I don't really understand. I mean, maybe you went back outside the city to blow them up or whatever, but
yeah,
they put the thumb down too hard.
I haven't been driving around the area as much as I used to, at this time of the year. But there always were fireworks stands at the borders, right? That was a typical thing. It's just kind of like where it's legal, you sell them. And then now, if sometimes the Montgomery County Police would be on the other side of the line, pulling a few cars if they spotted anybody, and then fining them and confiscating their fireworks. But there are definitely where people would buy their fireworks in D.C. and then try to get them into Montgomery County. Hopefully, would go undetected. So anyway, so what this is all leading up to really is President Trump and what he did on July 4th. So he, a couple of things there. One is that he went to Mount Rushmore on Friday, had fireworks. First time there'd been fireworks since I think about 2010. 7,500 people were given tickets to attend. The left went kind of crazy about, social distancing, and then the environmentalists, kind of went this. And then we had the other part of it, which is the racist history of those that are on Mount Rushmore and all this stuff. But, Trump went out and he gave a speech there, and then I guess he gave a speech in D.C. The next day. Did a great job from what everybody, at least conservatives, say. Of course, the liberals and the liberal media just panned it to heck.
Yeah, you have an item down here about the Gallup poll being the largest gap between, Republican approval and Democrat approval ever, 91-2, if I saw it correctly. That really got played out in how this was covered and received. It really illustrated that wide difference because the Republicans, or the people on the right, Molly Hemingway said she thinks it's the best speech Trump ever gave. She's not the only one who said that. He laid out in full view, like what is going on. There's a culture war. There are people who are attacking the institution of America, and there's some proxies for that, such as Jefferson, Washington, there were slaveholders. We have to, eliminate their memory and so forth. But that's what this is about. Is they're trying to tear down what it means to be an American, tear down freedom and free markets, and it's a full frontal attack on the American ideal. And Trump, took that on and said that his administration appears to be is preparing to fight that, to stand up for America and stand up for how we got to be what we are. And the media, it was dark and divisive and dystopian and racially insensitive and all this kind of stuff. And if you read the text of it, it's just bizarre what they are calling racially insensitive and so forth. So, widely loved by the right, widely panned by the left. But it laid down a marker. And I think, Joe Biden has to, he's now being asked, what are you going to do about statues? What are you going to do about preserving America and so forth? And he doesn't have answers. He's his things, statues we'd have to kind of see. It's like, well, they're not asking you to kind of see. They're asking you, are you going to fight for America? Or are you going to let it be destroyed in a, fit of anger by Marxists? It's like, it's up to you to figure that out. And he doesn't yet have it figured out.
Would you go as far as saying that it was Reagan-esque?
Reagan, he'd given about 45,000 public speeches before he started running for office or something. So, he was a very disciplined, he was an excellent public speaker. He had really honed those public speaking skills. Trump is more of an entertainer, and he's looking at a teleprompter. You can tell that speech was written for him and that he read it pretty faithfully. Didn't, a lot of times you can see him, they've given him what to say and he'll say a sentence of it and then he'll riff. He didn't riff. He stuck to the script here. And it's a good script. He must be there. I think they're getting a little better at speech writing. It wasn't really a strength first year or two of his administration. And so Reagan-esque, I don't know, but it definitely was appropriate and relevant to the times.
So, why is it that we don't get more speeches like that out of Trump?
I think Trump is, he spends a lot of time on rear guard action, right? He puts down, any claim made against him, he takes the time to refute the claim, right? If it's not true. And he's very diligent about that, very thorough about that. And so there's not a lot of, how often does any president give a speech that transcends, the event itself, right? Because, if you speak to the American Medical Association, it's big news for them. And, if you have some pithy line that gets put into the news cycle, you have a day or so of news, right? But this is, you don't have a lot of opportunities where, you're on the nation's birthday, speaking about what's going on in the nation. It's almost like a halftime State of the Union. This is kind of where we stand and how we're going to approach it.
Well, do you think that Trump missed an opportunity of really coming up with something similar in terms of the tone, the tenor, just how he delivered the speech, versus when we had all the George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks thing, that maybe there was a time, or at least an expectation, that he should have been out there saying something like that? Really kind of going out to the nation.
What are you looking for? He does, he talks about how we're eating each other alive over these things and how to get out of it. I don't know that, he avoids, his Trump's thing. You got to remember, he doesn't think about explaining what the problem is. He thinks about solving the problem, right? So he kind of moves past what are these problems to here's what we're going to do about it.
Okay, so let me flip that a little bit. Maybe what about has the media given us or expectations, or are they trying to put Trump in a place where they are raising expectations for him by the way they're reporting, saying that he should be doing something at the stage? When he decides not to, they pillory him for this.
Right. A lot of it is, what he should be doing, right? Well, it's he beat those people in an election. So I don't know about the wisdom of taking their advice, right? I mean, it was pretty much him v. them. And, you had sort of a caretaker candidate in there in Hillary, and even more of a caretaker candidate in there, now with Biden, right? These are not exemplary politicians. They don't, inspire anyone, right? That's the thing, is like, you have very few people who want to vote for Biden. They can hardly wait to get into that Biden administration, right? So, that's what he's dealing with. He's talking about, what comes next. And they're talking about, you didn't wear a mask. You didn't, appropriately apologize for this and that and the other. The other thing is, he's not going to apologize for things for which he's not responsible. People say he never apologizes. That's not true. Watch the debate after the Billy Bush tape went public. He went marched right out there and apologized. And, so he apologizes when he acknowledges he's wrong.
All right, a couple more things here, I guess, July 4th related. One is former NFL quarterback turned social justice warrior, Colin Kaepernick, our favorite guy. This is amazing, though. I mean, Netflix is going to be doing this series or something, and now Disney signed him. But now he's coming out, and he's created a conversation, not a huge conversation necessarily, but it's definitely gotten some attention, that July 4th is nothing but a celebration of white supremacy.
Right, well, I mean, the fact that he is free to say that is because of what happened on July 4th, right? He's part of whatever the supremacy is. He's part of it, because he took advantage of his privilege, right, to make that comment, right? And there was no government striking him down. The notion that like Trump is suppressing views. I think 95% of the press about him is awful. I don't think he's doing much. If he's trying to suppress views, he's not very good at it. But as for Kaepernick, here's a guy who, adopted by a well-to-do family, sponsored through, all his sports, select sports, all this stuff, got a job, jobs in sports are based on meritocracy, right? If you're better than the other guy, you will play. And, he was better than everyone at University of Nevada, and he played. He was better than everyone for a while with the 49ers. Then he got beat out by Alex Smith. And where all this started was he lost his job to Alex Smith. And he just could not accept that sports is a meritocracy. That works both ways. When you're good, they all come around and help you. And when you're bad, they get rid of you and find someone else. Yeah. That's what's happened to him. And whatever he thinks about the NFL, the reason that he's not in the NFL has nothing to do with kneeling during the national anthem, has nothing to do with Nike or activism or stirring up players, because he can't make a team, right? Now you say, oh, could he be somebody's third quarterback and hold the clipboard? Yeah, he could. But, if you think about it, Major League Baseball, backup catchers, right? You don't hear anything from backup catchers. Backup catchers say nothing because they're happy to be there, right? If you're the third guy carrying the clipboard, you're happy to be there, right? You're not arguing about social justice. You're carrying that clipboard. Okay, if he wants to argue for social justice, he has that right, and he has the right to, I agree that there needs to be some changes to how we police to make it where it's more fair to Black people. I absolutely accept that claim, and I think the police do too. And I also think that most police officers look at what happened to George Floyd, and they're horrified, right? Don't do that to our reputations, right? Don't do that to the work we're trying to do. Okay, just needlessly rough up this guy until he dies, basically, right? So, that's not the argument that's keeping him out, right? But if you're going to say, you're only good enough for the lowest hanger-on job, in any organization, the lowest hanger-on guy doesn't have a lot of comments, right? He just hangs on.
Right. I mean, when was the last time he played? Was it 2016?
Something like that, yeah.
So he's been out of the league, for like 4 years now. That's the other part of the problem. He hasn't taken a snap in a game. He's now 4 years older. The skills are,
keep those instincts sharp. That's
right. You need those game day kind of situations. So, watching him throw doesn't really do a lot of good.
Right. And what happened when, there was going to be this tryout, right? It ended up, he was playing games, right? Right. Well, it's not there, it's here. We're not doing it for every team. We're just doing it for some teams. We're not doing it for some teams. We're just going to put it on film, let everybody evaluate it and all that. The people in the league are like, we're talking about a backup quarterback. We're not jumping through hoops to have a backup quarterback who is going to cause us a lot of other problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing too is that the league, I think, there were many executives that were willing to send the scouts and watch him. I mean, part of that was, does he still have any ability there? But the other thing is just kind of being cowed into the whole thing. And then he pulls this stunt on them, and you're like, well, at this point in time, you're like, well, I don't need that. Then it becomes a problem and a head case on top of everything else.
Juice not worth the squeeze.
Yeah,
that happens. Yeah. That happens in sports all the time. We don't realize it because they don't put out a statement saying we cut dude X because he's a jerk, right?
Yeah.
They just say he's been, released, waived, whatever. Okay. So, but yeah, guys get run off because they're not liked and they're difficult to deal with and it's not worth it. All the time, not stars. You say, oh, I've never seen a star. Of course not. You keep your stars, you put up with what you have to put up with, right? But the marginal people need to be decent people.
Yeah. Okay. So the juice is not worth the squeeze. Okay. I don't think I've ever heard that in my entire life. Is that a Southern thing? I don't know where that came from.
I think it's kind of a sports thing.
Oh, is that what it is? It was the first time I've heard that.
Coach talk.
Coach talk. Okay. I should have figured this out. All right. Violence. So you talked about a little bit about police, and we talked a little, we've kind of moved away from the whole police violence. There's other things that are going on out there in general, but we are now having this tremendous spike. Now, the summertime, I will couch this in the sense that the summertime tends to lead to higher crimes. I think people are out on the street. There's a lot more things like this. But now, you can frame it on the fact that you've got Chicago, you've got New York is seeing like gun crime. This is like the worst in over 20 years. And I think this is feeding into the defund the police and a lot of other things where, some now they're looking like, well, there are probably going to be fewer police on the streets. Police have been pulling back because they're going to be less likely to do certain things because of all the other things that have happened. I mean, what's happening here in this country?
Well, like I saw a video somebody put on Twitter, and it's a snapshot, and it's one guy, and you don't know the context, and you don't know how serious he is about what he's saying. But it's all these people, he's African American, all these people driving around a car together. It's like 3 or 4 of them in the car. And they see a cop, and the guy has 2 guns on his lap, 2 handguns on his lap. And he says, a cop pulls me over, I'm going to kill him. I'm looking for a cop to pull me over so I can kill him. So he's like swerving and stuff to get the cop to pull him over. And the cop doesn't do it. And then the cop gets in front of him, and the guy's chasing the cop down the road, trying to get him to pull him over. And he's like, the cops are running from us. They're chicken. They're running away. I can't even catch them to kill them. Right? So, I don't know how often that happens, but, think about that. So everything that they don't have to mess with, they're not going to mess with, right? Every, property crime, you're on your own, buddy, in those cities, right? Because we got, Chicago, they're already up to like 600 and something murders for the year. And we're in July. We're in early July still. You're talking about more than 1,000 murders. That's way beyond, DC crack wars, that's uncharted territory, right? So, no local leadership. The mayor seems against the police and doesn't understand which laws people want enforced. Shouldn't put people in jail for mask or, walking outside in their yard, but shootings, she can't really be bothered, right? So one of the things that's, couple things that are happening here is, one is people are not respectful of the police anymore, right? They don't assume the police to represent the state and the state to be more powerful than them anymore. People are rejecting that formulation. That's dangerous. It's like, I have laws I don't like and I disagree with, but the answer is not break the law and defy the police to do something about it, right? The other thing is, and this is the point Trump is making it, and indirectly in Mount Rushmore, it's like, you keep electing these Democrat leaders, right? And they keep telling you that they're not really interested in law enforcement. The chief of police of Chicago said yesterday that, the big problem is we're letting all these people out of jail who've done this before. We let them out because of COVID. We give them light sentences. You do a handgun crime, you kill somebody with a handgun, you need to go away for a long, long time, which was the case before, we decided in the last 2 or 3 years to start letting them out again. You're behind bars, you're not hurting the society. You're not hurting the means and use of the world, right? And so when people prove they need to be behind bars, we need to go back to putting them behind bars. One thing that I did not agree with President Trump on is the crime reform bill. Now the Republicans are in the situation of, we're arguing that Biden is tough on violent crime to a degree Trump isn't. And Biden is wrong to be tough on violent crime, right? We bring up the old 90s clips of Biden saying, lock them all up and it's a jungle and all that. Look at him. Look at this bigot. He hates crime. He hates these criminals, wants to lock them up forever. There's a reason that these guys get locked up. They can't be in public, right? They're inclined to hurt people and kill them and so forth. And when you prove that, it doesn't matter what race you are. This is the group, the people in this group are the people who are willing to commit violent crimes against innocent people, right? When you identify those people, you have to remove them from society. It's not an option. And, we kind of got on the side of, let's take another look. Maybe we can let some of these, it's hurting families and so forth. It's like, you're letting violent people out, you're going to get violence.
Yeah, I mean, besides just COVID, you mentioned a couple of things there too. We also have, New York with their bail reform law, right?
Yeah,
people they can
no
get right, no bail. So this is another problem. You get charged, but you can go right out again. And then we have, you talk about leaders. We've seen what happened in Seattle, and that was a disaster with the chop zone. But also Atlanta. That terrible tragedy where I think she was 8 years old. The girl was killed when her mother was she was driving. There was I guess they said a legal protest demonstration. I guess it was in the parking lot of where they had burned down that Wendy's where Rayshard Brooks had been killed. But they opened up fire on this car, and it takes this violence, it takes the death of a young girl, and then these Democrat mayors come out and they say, "Oh, we got to put an end to this. We can't have this anymore." And up to that point in time, they didn't lift a finger. It took, in Georgia, it takes the governor to send in the National Guard to try to start doing things. It's crazy.
Right. The government of the city of Atlanta is essentially no longer functioning. Okay, that's what we pay government to do, right? Is to protect us, protect our property. So if they're not doing that, that's fine, but we need to cut taxes massively because the thing we're paying you to do, we're not going to have to pay to do ourselves, right? I'm fine with let's have another round of massive tax cuts, right? Take it out of the things that you're trying to do that aren't your job, right? Your job is protecting property. You're not protecting property. That's something that needs to be trimmed from the budget.
Yeah, and at one point in time, at least, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, I think is her name. She was on been floated as a possible VP choice for Biden as well, right?
Right. She also has COVID, by the way.
Right. She tested positive for COVID. So, all right. So that actually leads right into COVID. I wanted just to kind of get your sense of where we are with COVID. We continue to get the reporting. We still had 50,000 cases nationwide being reported. I think the media said that we have now over 3 million overall in the United States that have been reported. And they're talking about running out of ventilators or the ICUs are full, but I remember I was in the car very briefly yesterday and I heard Rush was talking about something and I didn't catch the full, I should have stayed in the car and listened to more of it, but he was talking about somewhere where, these ICUs are filling up, but they're not filling up because of COVID. They're filling up because of elective surgeries and other things, right. other things that are going on, that happen, other things. And so, but the media is kind of lumping all of this thing in, and I think this is part of the problem. The media, once again, is not giving us an accurate picture of what's going on here.
That's right. So a few things to remember. The last 2 days, no deaths have been reported in Virginia that related to COVID. 0 deaths, okay? In the whole country, the last 2 days, the total has been, it was 204 one day and 205 the other. That's an average of 4 people per state, because DC is counted in there too. So we're getting none. The national average is 4 people per state. Now, what do we do to prevent things that cause 4 deaths per day in a state? Not much, right? Most of this, like driving, causes way more than 4 deaths a day, right? So, that's not how we work, right? We manage that risk other ways, right? So as for COVID, the big hot spot is Houston, right? Houston supposedly they're running out of hospital and they're overrun with COVID people. Only 15% of the hospital beds in Houston are taken up by COVID patients right now. All the rest are taken up by, as you say, people doing elective surgeries, people catching up on medical attention they neglected or forestalled because of the pandemic. They're finally being let in the hospital. Okay, you hear these things about, they're at 95% capacity in their ICU. ICUs are supposed to run in the mid-90s capacity. You're supposed to, if you don't have, if you're sitting there running 70%, you're losing a lot of money because it takes a lot of money to staff them, all the equipment, all the insurance, and so forth. So a good hospital administrator is going to have only enough to where about 90 or 95%. Houston has enormous surge capacity. Its ability to handle patients has never been threatened at any point in this, right? The medical people, the people who run ERs in Houston, the gatekeepers of putting people in hospitals in Houston all agree on this point. I am not making it up. It's not bias. It is, people are outright lying to you about this for political gain, right? So people are getting infections, but they're getting them at a time when, the average high temperature in Houston this time of year is mid-90s. It's hot every day down there. It's hot at night. When you go to bed at night, it's 85, right? I used to get off when I worked in Shreveport. There was a big downtown bank that flashed the temperature. And I remember looking and I'd get out at night, 1 a.m, 92, 91, right? It's humid heat. It doesn't abate, right? It stays there. And people think it's humid here. They have no idea.
It's really swampy.
Yeah. Although it is humid here, it is swampy here.
Yeah.
I think this, the first 2 or 3 people who were thinking about building a town here rejected it because it was too swampy. It's like, oh no, let's put the government there. Nobody wants it. Let's give it to them.
Where you got drain the swamp.
There you go. So, so what is happening is you have a lot of cases, right? People are finally getting out and they're getting that community spread, that herd immunity, right? Where you run up the amount of people who actually have it, right? Without running up the amount of people who are dying from it or even getting seriously sick from it. So, to me, this is another disservice being done to us by the media, right? Because to them, it's like, hydroxychloroquine, right? What happened this week on that? It was declared the best way to treat coronavirus. It's way the cheapest and it's way the most effective. And doctors have been acting as if this is true all along. It's been by far the most popular treatment prescribed by doctors, along with the zinc and the zip pack and so forth, right? So, the 3 elements together, but the 3 elements together, is like $50, right? A dose, a trip, right? Whereas this remdesivir is 1,000. Okay, so Trump says, hey, let's do the hydroxychloroquine. Not only is it out of patent, and it's the hydroxychloroquine itself is $1 a pill, right? But people had donated 29 million doses to us. So the first 29 million were free. Okay, but let's don't do that because it doesn't work. Okay, well, let's go back. How many people died in Nevada, New Jersey, New York, places where they would not let doctors use hydroxychloroquine? Whose plate are those deaths on, right? Because those people, to prove to own Trump, they let people die, right? For want of medicine that would have cured them. It's undeniable. So what are we going to do about that? What do we say to Cuomo? How does that guy sit there and stay in office and bray on TV every day when he killed people? His decisions killed people. Not just that, but the nursing home. Yeah. He really couldn't have been a lot dumber about how he handled this. He really couldn't have.
Yeah. Do you think, though, that with this, all this kind of hype and everything like this by the media with this, that, you know, where we're seeing in Texas and Florida and places, California, things like that, where they are pulled back on the reopening, you know, the bars and beaches have been closed down, things like that, more mandatory mask requirements. Is that going too far? I mean, does that not kind of fly in the face a little bit of what you're talking about, the herd immunity and the spread?
Right. I don't think it's the right strategy. I was disappointed in Texas. I thought he knew better. You know, Texas, they should all be outside, outdoors, out in that heat.
Yeah, and we've talked.
Sick, you're not going to be very sick.
Right, and we've talked about this. Is this that when you reopen America, when you reopen things, you know, it was inevitable that these numbers were going to go up. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't going to stay at the number it was before. You put more people together, it was going to happen. It's just a natural thing. You know, that's how things occur. But, you know, every time I look and, you know, read and see stories in the media, it just, to me, it always just gets to me. It's just like they act as if this is, you know, something we have to be extremely worried about, in the sense that this is, you know, we're going to see massive deaths, massive hospitalizations because of this reopening. And we haven't seen it. Because, I mean, we've been talking about this. I mean, a lot of stuff started happening, probably around Memorial Day weekend or thereabouts. You know, we're a good month into this. And you talked about the death rate in the U.S. This is, by this time, if this was a huge, huge problem, we would have seen that spike upwards, and we haven't.
2 weeks ago, the number of cases went up 55%. The number of deaths went down 28%. Last week, the number of cases went up 30%, and the number of deaths went down 23%. So, you know, deaths are nosediving, right? Cases are going up, deaths are nosediving. So, like, how do you want to treat that? What do you want to do? What's the appropriate public policy response? You know, is it stay in until it's cold again and it can spread as viruses do in the winter, or get out and make it happen now? And to me, it's make it happen now.
Why isn't the media giving us, you know, kind of really focusing in on this factor, though? What is it? Is it because of the election?
It's Trump. It's all about Trump. It's 100% of their efforts are devoted. Every waking moment of their life is to make sure Trump loses in November.
How does Trump fight that?
Well, I mean, you know, if you watch his Twitter feed, he's fighting it by saying the death rates are going lower and lower and lower. He's now coming out. You know, he's got a silver bullet issue now. He says, you know, the CDC is being way too cautious about what schools need to do to reopen. Right? The impetus, the force needs to be on reopening schools, because, you know, a lot of these parents cannot work until school reopens because they got no childcare, right? It's not set up. And if you dump, you know, say, okay, we're now going to have, you know, 200% more kids who need all day childcare. 300%. I don't know what it would be, but it would be huge, right? Because mostly those kids are in school and they've got some arrangement for after school, but, you know, they're in school all day. Okay, so you're now saying, you know, parents got to stay home, right? Which is what they're trying to do, is they can keep everybody home. They can keep Biden have an excuse to stay in, right? He doesn't have to get exposed to questions and normal campaigning and all the things that turn out to be a disaster for him every time. And Trump is, you know, every time he does it, oh, no mask, and oh, these people are going to get sick and die. It's all politics. We've left science far behind, and we're dedicated solely to getting rid of Trump. That's all they care about.
Yeah, okay, so now we also have the news, I guess it was yesterday, that Trump has now sent notice that the U.S. will withdraw their support of the World Health Organization. We kind of knew this was coming, but the liberals just can't let this one go. They think this is terrible. Biden has said that he will reverse that as soon as, you know, when he gets elected, or if he gets elected.
I think he was right to do it. The World Health Organization, you know, to be real, right? There needs to be something like that, right? These kind of problems, the world needs to work together on. You know, there needs to be an interface, an organization that keeps a basic, you know, staff and ongoing efforts on hand to where they're ready to help with stuff like this. But this organization allowed itself to be bought off by China, and as a result of being bought off by China, to downplay, misrepresent, actually be actively dishonest, and, you know, make mistakes and downplay the threat of coronavirus. This is a lot worse because, you know, the World Health Organization was covering for China. You know, we all know that. It's not really arguable. It's not really debatable. So, you know, what we need to do is, you know, I mean, if people say, oh, stay in and make reforms from within, presumably that's what we've been doing for the last 20 years. And this is what we got, right? So maybe stepping away sends a little, especially since we're such a large part of the budget, you know, sends a signal that, you know, real reform has to come here. There's no pass and there's no papering it over. It has to happen.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how this all works out for them. So you referred back to one of the things on my list, and now it's here. It's the Gallup poll that came out that showed 91% support among Republicans for Trump, 2% on the Democrats, and according to Gallup, this is the widest gap they've ever seen.
I thought it was 93 because I think it went up from 91 to 93.
Yeah,
it's going up.
I saw this initially on Fox News. And they reported at 91 to 2, but
okay.
At this point, 91 or 93 does another couple percentage points really matter that much?
But the point is, it went up among Republicans.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to double check that. But you know, I don't know. I mean, what does this say about Trump in terms of this? Is that it's just that, you know, this gap? Is this a problematic gap for him in the election, or was he just not really going to get many of these people anyway, so it doesn't really matter?
Right. Well, the thing is, like, Democrats are only about a third of it now. They're even less than a third of it. They're about 31%, according to, you know, the stats that are out there on these type of things. And there's a lot of ways they can be inaccurate, such as in Virginia, we don't register by party. So you don't really know what anybody is. You just kind of know how they act, right, in the polls. So, you know, that he has only 2% of Democrats, you know, he's against what they're for. I mean, they're, you know, you know, I think that says more about them than it does about him, right? So they're no longer the party of, you know, let's have a good safety net and Social Security and all that. They're tearing down statues, burning down cities, you know, eradicating American history, you know, doing some stuff that, you know, he can't be for. He has to stand strongly against. And a lot of them are moving into that camp. I think that camp is easily caricatured and defeated, but, you know, hasn't happened yet. We're not to November yet, but I think it says more about the Democrats than it does about Trump.
Okay. Karl Rove, I think it was a week ago, Thursday, he wrote an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal talking about President Trump and his messaging or lack thereof, and really kind of was sending out a warning signal to the Trump campaign that, you know, you need a really clear, defined, you know, message. Otherwise, you know, what reason are you giving for the voters to vote for him? This kind of follows, I think, on the heels. He had an interview with Sean Hannity and really kind of relied back on the things that they had been doing. You know, I mean, there's no "Make America Great Again" really great slogan, or "Build the Wall." I mean, those are fabulous slogans, I think, for 2016. But I haven't really seen anything strong for 2020. I have Republican friends, young Republican friends, says, well, it can still be "Make America Great Again," but that's debatable with a lot of people. Rove has been on Fox News, I think, also talking about this same type of thing, that where's the message for the Trump campaign to distinguish himself from the Biden group, you know, and things like this. I mean, what is Trump's selling point? I mean, in sales, you want a unique selling proposition. What is it for Donald Trump in 2020?
Well, Scott Adams also said, you know, Biden is talking about what the future would look like, and Trump is talking about the past, and the future usually beats the past. So, you know, there's body of people out there saying, give us a clear talking points of what the second term would be. What will you spend those 4 years trying to achieve? And that's kind of hard to say. He's sort of in a uniquely bad position on that because, right now, I mean, the next 4 years, how long are we dealing with coronavirus, right? We shouldn't be dealing with it now. How long is that going to hang over us? How long will there be unrest? How serious are these defund the police effort? What are the impacts of that? So, it's sort of like you're managing day-to-day crises. I mean, what will I do the next 4 years? Well, I'll make sure that the cities don't burn down. Okay, that alone seems reasonable position, right? But it calls for federal incursion in local law enforcement matters, right? So that's got to be sorted out too. My thinking is that he's going to build it around infrastructure, around trade, increasing salaries, right? Because that's been a big thing that he's done. Trump has added $5,500 to the average income, household income. Obama added 1,000 in 8 years. W added like 440 in 8 years. So that's a big difference. Trump understands how to make us more prosperous. And somebody asked me the other day, like, what do you think, what do you constitute someone being a patriotic American? And I said, if they want the nation to be prosperous, if they don't, they just want to tear it down, that's not patriotic. But if you say, hey, the way we're going after prosperity is wrong, I disagree with it, let's try approach B. Okay, you have the right to do that. And you do that out of love for the country and so forth, right? But just, we're going to throw statues in the river. That doesn't make America any better.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it seems that, he's been trying to fight kind of a culture war, which is fine with the base, but on a re-election basis, I don't think it really moves the needle much at all. The economy, which was doing great before the pandemic,
it's recovering.
It's recovering, though I, with the governors, with the states putting a little bit of that pause on it, we may see a little bit more of a flattening of things, for the next couple of months.
Yeah, it comes out with the June jobs report. I don't know. I wrote about this. The June jobs report, added 4.8 million jobs in 1 month. It was one of the biggest months ever for adding job report, and reduced the unemployment, down to like 11% from 14. Right. Those are huge quantum leaps in jobs reports, right? But the stories on, well, they're already out of date because these new shutdowns are going to make it where July is a lot worse. Because it's like however you can attack it. Don't admit that he got anything right. Attack it however you can.
How about something like, just saying like moving America forward or something like that?
Well, he has Keep America Great.
Yeah. But, I mean.
A lot of people might not agree it's great at this point.
Yeah. But, I mean, if they can find a catchy slogan, that can do a lot just to energize a lot of people.
Yeah, I think, you can already see it. Like, you'll see sometimes he puts out tweets where he talks about, we just gave $80 million to Allegheny County, Pennsylvania to fix the such and such expressway, and, just like really like minutia road projects all over the country. We're giving you money to rebuild this bridge, and we're giving you money to fix this tunnel, right? So I think a big push for Trump in the second term, and it's a good time to bring it up, is, we need to rebuild the cities. We need to rebuild the infrastructure of the country, not because of whatever it will do for revenue or tax or jobs or any of that, but because, most of, if you look around, most of that stuff was built a long time ago, and it wears out. These things aren't permanent. So I think he can make a case like we're gonna fix the country's infrastructure if you elect me again, and we're going to try to. I mean, he came out with recommendations on how to fix the police before anyone, right? And he did it with the cooperation of the police, which I think, you can say what you want, but unless they're really going to defund police departments, and I think, Minneapolis, for instance, is finding out that might not be the smartest thing to do. They had like a homeless encampment and took all the food, and they've had all kind of problems over there. as a result of not having any police who are interested in doing anything.
Yeah. So
he was the first one to come out with police reforms, right? His were out before anybody.
All right. Final thing here. Final comment. Mary Trump, her book. Is this sour grapes, opportunism? A bitter niece? What's going on with her?
Well, I guess her uncle wrote that she's jealous because he went off to fame and fortune, and she went off to listen to other people talk about their problems. That was pretty good. But it's like, he hid his brother's toys. Like, really? And then she says he cheated to get into grad school. And it's like, I think Wharton checks that stuff out pretty good. He went to a good grad school. He's not uneducated.
How is this going to play for him in the election, or does it not make a difference at this point?
If you hate him, you got another reason to hate him. If you like him, it doesn't give you any reason not to.
I mean, what about impact? I mean, Kayleigh McEnany, called it. I mean, she talked about, I think, I don't know, falsehoods or something. Like, she made some comments about it, for which the media immediately went after her because she hadn't read the book yet, or the excerpts or whatever yet, and things like that. But I mean, I think you can tell by what we had seen being released. It's an opportunity to make some money here, or hopefully make some money off the Trump name and all of this. And Donald Trump kick a man when he's down, in the polls, kind of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of people tweeted, and I wondered if it was coordinated, because I said pretty much the same thing. Was if anything, this book will make Trump slightly more relatable, because we all have a Mary in our family. We all have one contrarian, doesn't like everybody, and doesn't care about overturning the table.
Yeah, I didn't mean to ask you this, because I was curious about what your response would be. We've had a series of things that Trump has said lately, just through Twitter. I mean, he went after the Fox News about what he called phony suppression polls. He went after Bubba Wallace, things like this. And he went after the Redskins, Indians renaming process, or the thought about that. I mean, I just kind of wonder whether or not Trump needed to delve into that, particularly the Bubba Wallace thing. I saw that tweet, not long after it appeared, and I'm thinking, like, I'm not so sure I would have gone down that path. I think I would have just let that one go, the whole Bubba Wallace thing.
Yeah, I can see that. I think, though, if you look at what he actually said there, okay, what he's talking about, and Kayleigh tried to explain it at the presser, is, when you make an accusation like that, and it turns out to be false, okay, you've created a lot of drama and unpleasantness and strife, okay, and you do kind of owe an apology. You do owe to say, okay, I got that wrong, and he did. I don't know, I think someone told him, hey, it's time for you to be outraged, right? And so everything kind of unfolded from there, and he found his voice and everything. But the truth of the matter is, they were wrong. It was a pull down. I've seen many ropes like that, and once I saw what it was, I'm like, it's a pull down.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, the thing is that the basic part of what Trump was trying to say was actually correct. Yeah. The problem, I think, is that he's going after Bubba Wallace, the only, the main black NASCAR driver who has engendered a ton of sympathy at this point in time. It's like, I don't know that I don't think that that's a hill you need to die on.
My problem was not that part of it, because my part was, then he said, between that and the Confederate flag, their ratings have gone in the toilet or whatever. I don't remember how it ended, but it was something to the effect of, it's the Bubba Wallace controversy and the flag have hurt the ratings, attendance, whatever of NASCAR. Okay, I think that he does not really understand the flag issue. Don't say anything about it. If you want to go after Bubba Wallace, go after Bubba Wallace. And he doesn't really go after Bubba Wallace. He just says he should probably apologize and set this right, and he really hasn't. But the flag, lay off of that, okay? That you're not going to change anybody's mind about what that flag means, right? everybody decides on their own, and you can like it or not like it, but that's what they believe, and it will not change. So, to me, if I were him, I would steer clear of talking about the flag,
Absolutely.
Confederate flag, in any instant.
Absolutely. All right, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. So we are, let's see, I have one down here that I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about the passing of Charlie Daniels. Two people that died this week. One is Charlie Daniels, who started out playing with Bob Dylan. A lot of people don't know that. Ended up finally getting into the Grand Ole Opry in the last couple of years. He was part of the Southern rock movement genre or whatever. It was popular in the 70s, 60s, 70s and 80s mainly. Marshall Tucker Band, Wet Willie. There was a bunch of Leonard Skinner. These were good. They were good bands, and I grew up listening to a lot of that music. He found faith in his life, more than he had. He grew up in a church and grew up singing gospel music. That's how he got started. But he drifted away and partied and whatnot, and he went back to his faith and went back to his religion, and tried to help and save a lot of people and get involved in their lives. A lot of musicians who were down on their luck. He was a businessman, managed the money real well. So he made sure that the people who didn't were taken care of. He was, he said one of the things he bragged about was that he never missed a payroll. And he didn't end up being on our side politically, but he seemed like a good, decent human. On the other hand, yesterday, Mary Kay Letourneau died.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was the woman she was a school teacher in the Seattle area, and she started having sex with one of her 13-year-old, 12-year-old students. And she got caught, and when she went to jail, the guy was 15, and she was pregnant with the second child of his by her, that was by him. Okay. So, people say, well, then they eventually got married, and I guess they got divorced about a year or two ago. She died of cancer. They made a relationship out of it and so forth. But hey, my son's 13. I don't want a teacher messing with him. I think that's pretty. You never know with the Democrats these days, but most people are like, keep your hands off my kids. They're there to learn. They're not there to be your sexual object.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't know all the details of this. I still remember that one of the biggest shocks I had coming out of high school was finding out that one of my classmates married our shop teacher. She was of legal age. It was perfectly legal to do so, but it kind of this for me was just mind blowing to even think that was.
It makes you wonder too.
And, we're talking 1977.
Yeah.
And then to see a lot of these predatory teachers and stuff like that, this is terrible. Yeah, but I agree. Charlie Daniels, Devil Went Down to Georgia, one of my all-time favorite songs. I'll never forget it. And yes, rest in peace to Charlie Daniels, a great man, great musician, and all of that. All right, well, we've reached the end of our show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again today. Thank you, Brian, for being with me and putting up with me. Please, everyone, stay safe, stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not forget it. We just had our nation's birthday. It should have been a great reminder to us for what we are, what we stand for, what we believe in. And God bless America. And I will see you next week.